Alrighty, so today we got some big news coming out of the Leeds Cup as it was announced that the groups have now been set in terms of this year edition of the Leeds Cup, which means that every MLS team and Liga MX team will now where they are going to be grouped up in the group stage. Well, that of course, if you're not Club America and the Columbus Crew, since they got a bye in the group stage. Club America, of course, getting the bye out of Liga MX because they have the most points total over the two season in the Clausura and Apertura, and then the Columbus Crew getting that bye because they are the defending MLS Cup champion. Now, in terms of what's also kind of interesting, and before I go over where each team and which group they are in, what's interesting about this year is that they actually decided to put like a different tier. They actually put three different tier in terms of where each team goes, depending on the points total that they have in the last couple of season. And the point of that is that MLS and Liga MX wants to make sure that all of these group will be more balancedly matched, and you won't have a situation where you might see one team join in a group, and then they face another team that are just really good, and that is pretty easy to see who's going to win that group. But despite that, we all know that even though that's the case, there are going to be cases where you're going to see some groups that teams get an easier draw, and there are going to be some tough group, and there definitely is a group of death out there out of these 15 groups that we of course would see. And then what's also interesting, and I'm actually going to skip to this part where I wrote hub privilege, and what that basically means is that you have four Liga MX team that is going to have a say in terms of where they're going to be playing as the representative of a home team. Now, obviously, last year we didn't really quite see that, even though Liga MX team was designated as a home team, they would always play against the MLS team that is labeled as a road team, but technically they're still playing at their home stadium. This year is going to be a little bit different. This year, these four teams out of Liga MX can pick where they can play in the US or even in Canada. And that, it's also worthy to know that they didn't say anything about Mexico. And I know that this is going to be something that a lot of people, including myself, would want to see. These Liga MX kind of tournament would be expanded to Mexico and at least have Mexican team play home game in this tournament. But we all pretty much know why exactly they don't do that. I mean, this Leads Cup, it's always a cash cow kind of tournament, and you know where the real money goes in terms of this tournament. It's going to be in the U.S. and also potentially in Canada as well. So in terms of the hub privilege, we got so the top ranked team Club America, they're gonna have hub privilege until the semifinals. Then you got Rayados of Monterrey, they're gonna have hub privilege until the round of 16. Then you got Chivas, will have hub privilege until the round of 32, and then Tigres will have hub privilege throughout the group stage. Now, let's take a look at the group because I'm pretty sure that's what you've been wanted to hear after I spent 3 minutes explaining what the different kind of procedure of this year's Leeds Cup. So in West number one, and keep in mind these are of course regionalized. But in West number one, we got CF Monterrey, also known as Rayados, Pumas, and Austin FC. So yeah, Los Verdes fan, I'm sorry. The fact that you're once again going to not only be facing two Liga MX team in your group, but yeah, you just got two of the more big name kind of club, especially Rayados. Again, if there's one thing about Liga MX team and who are always the best, I mean, you got the Club Americas and the Chivas out there, but don't forget about Monterrey and Tigres. I mean, those two teams are considered to be the best team in Mexico for a while now. So yeah, that's a tough draw for Austin FC, and that this year, unlike last year where they got an easy draw in terms of those two Liga MX team, and they fell spectacular to qualify. Now they got the opposite treatment. They got the two tough one, even though Pumas hasn't really been doing that well in the last couple of seasons. Then we go to West 2, and this is where we have Chivas, San Jose Earthquakes, and the LA Galaxy. And if you want to see a group that will give a lot of people think that this draw is scripted, this is the group to see because it feels like this is a clear group for them to try to milk as much money, and also just kind of the script writers trying to be at full force in terms of the group stage. I mean, you have Chivas and the San Jose Earthquakes, KCAL, of course, potentially returning to San Jose, and I say potentially because Chivas will have privilege of where they're gonna pick. But I think they're probably gonna pick San Jose because they're already gonna be playing a game down in LA, and Chivas does have a big presence up and down the coast in California. But then you got the LA Galaxy, and Chicharito returning to LA. That should be a very interesting kind of storyline. And not to mention, let's not forget that we also get the Cali Clasico in the Leagues Cup, because free Cali Clasico is not enough for this season. We've got to make sure we have a fourth one, and I'm pretty sure that if they are going to go in terms of the hosting priority when two MLS teams play based on the tier ranking, they should get the host priority, because they did finish the season higher than what the Galaxy was last season. But that of course will be determined if that is the case. And then we look at West number 3. We got St. Louis City, FC Dallas, and FC Juarez. And again, it's very easy for me to basically choose exactly who is going to be the favorites early on, because a lot can change as the season goes along, especially as the Liga MX season begin. But already when you look at this group, it looks like St. Louis and Dallas might be favorites against a Juarez side that hasn't really been doing well in Liga MX for the past couple of seasons. Then you got West number 4. We got Toluca, Sporting KC, and the Chicago Fire. So Sporting KC kind of got themselves in a bit of a tough group, just like they did last year. Though it was not as tough as last year. At least they don't have to face the almighty Chivas, and then of course facing against FC Cincinnati, who was considered to be one of the favorites in this tournament. But facing Toluca is not going to be easy, because Toluca was a really good team last season, which is why I was really surprised to see them not go as deep as they did. And then the Chicago Fire, they were a surprise package. I mean, they gave Club America all they can handle last year in the round of 32, so they're not going to be an easy team to beat in terms of this group. Then we go to West number 5, and we got Club Leon, Portland Timbers, and the Colorado Rapids. Obviously, Leon is going to be heavy favorites, because Leon has been a good team. I mean, they just won the CONCACAF Champions League this previous season. But yeah, at least for the Timbers, they get a little bit of an easier group this time. They don't have to face the almighty Tigres, but we will see kind of a little rematch of the playoff matchup we saw a couple of years between the Timbers and the Rapids in this group. And then in West number 6, you got the Seattle Sounders, Minnesota United, and Necaxa. Now, remember how I said that they basically are based these group in terms of regional? This one just doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't know why they decided to put the Seattle Sounder and Minnesota in the same group. Consider the last time I checked, Seattle is nowhere near where Minnesota is. But I guess maybe the scriptwriter are just hoping that let's have another rematch of the Western Conference Final that we saw in 2020. That I shall not mention what happened, because why not? Why not? That of course is the case. And then of course they got Necaxa, who this season actually they've been playing very well in Liga MX, at least in the beginning part. They've been a team that hasn't really done very well in Liga MX, but with the way that they've been playing so well so far, that might not be an easy team. And that there's no doubt Minnesota got a tougher group this year, especially when you face against Seattle, who again, I know last year that tournament was an epic failure, and they're hoping that it's not going to be the same case this year. Especially they got a much easier group. I mean, they were part of that group of death when they have to face the likes of Rayados, RSL in the same group. And then we got West number 7, and we got LAFC, Vancouver Whitecaps, and Club Tijuana. So again, if you want to see a group that is kind of maybe scripted and that there's some interesting storylines, LAFC, Vancouver Whitecaps is definitely one. I mean, it just feels like I know the league have tried to manufacture some rivalry that is so formed. I guess maybe they're trying to manufacture an LAFC Vancouver rivalry, even though I mean it's kind of weird. I mean, they had that epic battle in the playoffs last year that ended controversially, but yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting. The fact that both of them are paired up uh, again. And then of course Club Tivana, of course they have to pick a team. At least in the Southern California region, they got to pick a team in Tijuana that is pretty much close to where in Southern California is. So that kind of makes sense that they decide they're going into West number 7, and in the same region that we see with all of these teams based in the West Coast. Then we got West number 8. We got the Houston Dynamo, RSL, and Atlas FC. It's kind of an interesting group here. I mean, RSL fans are probably happy the fact that at least they don't get a really tough group this year. And then they realize that, oh, wait a minute, we're playing the Houston Dynamo again. And again, this is where, again, there are some very interesting storyline. This is going to be an interesting storyline because I'm pretty sure RSL fans must hate the Houston Dynamo last year with the way that they pretty much beat them almost every single time. I mean, they played so much last season. I think there was like 5 or 6 matches that they played that last season, and they're going to play one more in this year. So that's also an interesting storyline. Then we got into East number one, and this is where we go into the first of 7 group in East. We got FC Cincinnati, NYCFC, and Querétaro. This is definitely a group that you can see that looks like 2 of the MLS team could be heavy favorites of moving on into the next round. And FC Cincinnati, as I mentioned last year, they were one of the favorites of winning this tournament. I have a feeling they're going to be favorites once again winning this tournament. Then you got Orlando City, Atletico de San Luis, and CF Montreal. And I gotta say, for Orlando, they got pretty fortunate to be in a relatively easy group. I mean, Montreal is not gonna be an easy opponent to face. I mean, they did well last season against Pumas, except for the fact that they blew the 2-0 lead, and that was a huge difference in terms of them qualifying into the next round and not qualifying into the next round as they did last year. But I feel like this is one of those group where two of these MLS teams is gonna move on, and that the lone Liga MX team Atletico de San Luis, they haven't really done so well in Liga MX for the past couple of years. And then we get to East number 3, which I won't be surprised. This might be the most interesting group out of it because that's the group that Inter Miami is involved in. They got a relatively tougher group compared to last year. They got Tigres and Puebla. Again, Tigres, they get the hub privilege, but I won't be surprised. And no matter who they of course pick. I mean, Tigres is a team that's popular down in Mexico, but damn well that wherever they pick in terms of where they host Inter Miami, there's going to be a lot of pink jersey in there because of the Messi hype and stuff like that. So yeah, overall, for Tigres. Unfortunately, they got the hub privilege, which is good, but unfortunately, they have to face a team who pretty much will have all their fans watching their team because of the way that Inter Miami has exploded popularity ever since Messi arrived. And I will say that it's going to be a very very interesting test to see Miami facing against the best of the best that is Tigres. And sorry Puebla, but yeah, you're probably maybe going to be the lone man out. Consider they're right now, as we're speaking, I think they're sitting dead last in Liga MX. Then we go to East 4. We got the Philadelphia Union, Charlotte FC, and Cruz Azul. Very interesting group. I think this is kind of an underrated group. I would say that this could be a competitive group too, because don't count Charlotte out. I mean, Charlotte, with their new head coach Dean Smith, and if they can improve from last season, they could be an interesting thing. And same with Cruz Azul. I mean, Cruz Azul really did well last year, considering they were put in a really tough group with Inter Miami and Atlanta United. Then we got East number 5. We got New England, Nashville, and Mazatlan. This is kind of a group that you expect both of these MLS teams to move on, but Mazatlan did cause some upset last season too, and they have a couple of former MLS players down there as well. So it should be very interesting to see how that's gonna go. And not to mention, we'll see whether or not if Nashville can make another incredible run to the final like what we saw last season. And then East number 6, we got Pachuca, New York Red Bulls, and Toronto FC. So this is kind of a bit of a wild card group where it's kind of unpredictable who will, of course, move on. I mean, I know people will say TFC will probably going to finish dead last in the group, but you never know. I mean, again, last season for Toronto FC with all the drama that was going on, maybe with them not having so much drama heading into this season. Maybe they'll surprise some people, but overall, this is a very unpredictable group in terms of where each team will finish. And Pachuca, of course, they haven't been the same team as what we've seen the past couple of years, mainly because they sold a lot of their talented player in the last couple of years too. And then finally, in East number 7, we got Atlanta United, Santos Laguna, and DC United. So obviously, Atlanta is probably very happy the fact that they don't have to face Inter Miami again. But at the same time, they face against DC United and Santos Laguna. This is one that it could be interesting. I mean, Santos have not been doing so well this season in Liga MX, and they haven't really done so well in the last couple of years too. But it is always a team that when you mention Santos Laguna, this is a team that always cause pain to MLS team. Like all these teams that face against Laguna, that is MLS team, always have trouble against this team. So don't be surprised. This could be another group where it could be a bit of a wild card. I mean, don't be surprised. DC could make some noises too in this group too, and it might be another group like E6 that is a little bit unpredictable. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at these groups, and again, from what I said about kind of like the early looks of these group. It will take a while for me to kind of eventually look at these group and start making prediction of where they're gonna finish. I mean, it is just way too early. Consider we haven't even had the MLS season begin. Like when the MLS season can continue, we might get a good idea of who could be the favorites and who could not, and even down in the Liga MX level once their season is done. It'll be interesting to see who's the favorites and who is not. But let me know in the comments below. What do you think of this video, and what do you think of where your team got picked in the group? Do you like where your team is? Do you got an easy C group, or did you get a really tough group that you probably will have no chance of moving on into the next round? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.